All right, gentlemen, we are back, and it is another wonderful Wednesday, as always. And we got the likely crew in the building waiting for one more. See if he's gonna pop on. See if dude's gonna be able to make. Not sure if he will or not. He's got a lot going on right now, so we'll see what happens. But as always, we'll start with how everyone's week has been going. Wig, you up first. How's your week been so far?
Like I said, just me and you on here, bro. I can't complain. 'Cause I promise you, it's somebody else that got it worse than what we got it.
So you're right. Lynn,
Yes, sir.
how have you been this week?
A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Had some victories, some losses. Working on a huge opportunity.
Oh wow!
Yeah. I'm gonna call it right now. It's life-changing money.
Oh, I love it. It's gonna work out for you.
Yeah, it is.
It's gonna work out for you. I love it. Okay, and Rich,
Let's get to it.
Let's get to it. So get to it we will. And so this week we got a hell of a topic, I think. And the reason why I say that is because I think the implications of the Supreme Court even taking in consideration or hearing, allowing the thought of mail-in ballot being contested is an oddity to me. Right? I don't understand it, but I don't need to. I just need to be able to hey Juan, to be able to dial in and figure out, anticipate what's going to happen after that. So with that being said, let's jump right into it. Getting into it. So the Supreme Court has been hearing the argument against, I would say, I don't necessarily want to say against so much mail-in ballots. But
one thing, there's a couple of different issues.
Yeah, there are multiple different issues, right? When they can be, when they should be considered valid, when they shouldn't be considered valid. I know Justice Thomas started out by asking the solicitor, and at the beginning of the trial, what is the difference between elected by or elected on, to try and clarify those 2 points. And I'm not sure if they really actually got that as I continued listening to the trial. But that's up for debate. And then as well as, is this going to affect early voting? And if it does, how? Because again, there are other people who were listening into what was being said, and the chuckles or the gestures and the jeers that were made surrounding multiple different types of comments as to maybe coming back and picking up on the actual topic of early voter or early voting. But I guess in general, yes, I thank you for pointing that out, Wanda. The POTUS mailed his ballot in as well.
I'm gonna need this La Marie, whoever she is. I'm gonna need her to come on here. I need to see who I need to address tonight. I need to see her face.
I don't think you're gonna get Wanda.
Or their face or them face. I need to see the face of who this person is.
If she want to hop on, she always got the link. She's a co-host of the Thursday night show. So, but just for gits and shiggles, I will post the link in the comments for anybody who want to hop on and give their side.
Whoever she is, I need to see the face of this person. So
gotcha.
Okay.
Gotcha. So I'll start off with the simple question, and we'll start in the upper right corner. Hopefully, everybody's the same as Wig. So the question that I have is is this a form or the future, or could this be considered voter suppression? Wig, in your opinion,
Hey, ask that one more time, Glass.
is this a step? Essentially, is this a step forward towards voter suppression?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so because at the end, yeah. If you just ask me the question, yes, I think so. This is no different than a poll tax.
Okay, so let's go into that a little bit, and then we'll make our way. Well, actually, hold that thought, because I don't want to disregard that. I think that's a very important thing to say. Lynn, where are you at? Is this a form of voter suppression? Are you in agreement with Wig that it's a poll tax?
Yeah, if that's the question, it's a hindrance. The ability to mail your ballot in has been part of the election process most of my life. Since I've been a voter, all of my voting life. Because when I turned 18, I was in the Navy. So guess how I voted? Absentee ballot by mail. And so to mess with it is just one of those things that I see one side of the party seesaw, mess with all the time. Just always want to move the rules, move the goalposts, move something, and especially on election day. That's why I always encourage people to vote early, because I think early voting is the equalizer for this poll tax.
Okay, so I don't want to move those chains too far. Let me welcome in, before we get over to you, Rich. Let me welcome in a buddy of mine. Known him since I can't even remember which grade we met in anymore, man. It's been decades at this
It's
point.
been forever.
Yeah, it has. Mr. J.R. Jackson, who has I'm trying to think of how to say this. I don't want to say it incorrectly, but
now I'm curious.
Associated with the Young Turks, and also has his own show on YouTube. But JR, let me pause for a second and allow you the space to introduce yourself. That way you can give yourself a quick cameo, if you would.
Yeah, how you guys doing? First of all, I'm happy that you continue to have James have the wherewithal and the persistence to go through all the madness and the nonsense that takes me forever to get on anything. But I'm JR. I'm, again, like you said, I do a show on the TYT network. My show is called The Watch List with JR. But every once in a while, when I do something on my own, it's JR rated. But I've been producing, I have been doing podcasting. We were the first online show with YouTube back in 2005 when everything got started. So it's been a minute just of doing that. We started on Sirius XM, but ever since then, I've decided I was able to do more stuff on my own show here. So every day at noon, I do a stream, a watch party stream is what I call it, where we just stream, talk about everything that's going on. I produce, I shoot it, I edit it, I talk on it. But what I really want to always expose is what's going on with our world politically, mostly. And I always hope I can talk about something else. But lately, there's not much else to talk about, because this is what controls everything in our world. And I know I've seen you, James, on here providing truth, cutting through all the BS. And I love to see it, man. When I saw you pop up doing this stuff, I was excited, because I was like, man, I ain't seen my man James or spoken to you in so long. But I'm glad that there's folks that know what's happening and are willing to step out and talk about it. It's a good thing to see.
Absolutely. So thank you for hopping on, man. Absolutely appreciate it. And so right now, tonight, we were talking about the mail-in ballots that have been debated, as it were, if that's what you want to call it, in front of the Supreme Court, with the justices actually pushing out different questions. And some of those questions have been direct. Some of those questions have been on the opposite side of where counsel has decided to be. and some unfortunately have been in line with. So the first question that we started with, and I'll swing back around to Richard. Essentially, the question is this voter suppression? And a poll tax is already mentioned, as well as what you called in when you hopped in here, the mention of early voting. And I wanted to pause on those two topics just to get the basic question, essentially. Again, going over to you, Rich, is this voter suppression a form of?
So I take it, make sure that this is March 25th. So I think you're asking me a yes or a no question?
Not necessarily, right? Because I know how you feel about yes and not necessarily. I know how you feel about yes and no questions. You feel as if it's a setup.
It depends on who's asking.
Okay.
It depends on the relationship you have with that person.
Wow.
When they ask you for a yes or a no question.
Well, the framing was free. It's an open framed question, so you don't have to worry about a gotcha moment.
Well, listen, maybe after we have an intellectual conversation about the facts, or maybe it's about the feelings. I don't know. Then maybe I can answer that later on in the show. But I do want to say this on this La Marie. She makes a point faster than I can get my 2 cents in, that President Trump mailed in his ballot. So one of the things he's trying to do is, allegedly stop all the mail-in ballots, allegedly, because when you look at the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court, do we want to stop this mail-in ballot situation? And I think we read last week or 2 weeks ago, it's not truly about stopping it. It's about limiting mail-in ballots. So until we talk about these issues and really narrow down on a mail-in ballot, then I can come back and tell you, yes, this is possibly a form of voter suppression, or this is a form of a poll tax. So
okay. All right.
That's how I have to answer that. Yeah.
Jay, where are you at with it? What are your thoughts on it so far?
We're talking specifically these mail-in ballots. Am I right? I'm sorry, I jumped in.
Right.
A couple minutes
right. We're talking specifically right now. We're talking the mail-in ballots, but we're going to absolutely expand the parameters in a second.
Well, I mean, there's so many different ways that they're trying to figure a way around direct voting. I mean, as I think Richard, you pointed out, there has been those stories about the ways in which, even in the past, not even just recently, that the president himself has voted by mail. And many times you have to question whether or not what is it they're telling us, what is it their positions are politically, if it is what they really believe in, or if it's just something politically to assist them. And this is something that I think is nonpartisan. There's plenty of politicians that talk about what is it they would like to do versus what is it they actually believe in and practice themselves in their lives. And when it comes to their personal lives, that's when we tend to dig in. But sometimes when it comes to their lives or their positions or the way that they act when it comes to the relation to the American people, a lot of times we like to be hands off with that. And I'm not really understanding why. If there's some kind of sexual scandal, everybody loves to talk about it. And that's something that we can decide everything based off of. But when it comes to the way that they maybe have standards or principles, which they say they believe in versus what is it they do, that's where sometimes I have problems. Because look, why are there different rules for different people? I mean, we kind of see it right in front of our faces. I was just listening to CNN this morning, and they were talking about how, I believe it was Delta Airlines, if we're talking about the long lines and TSA not being paid, how they've made this determination to then now have important people, quote unquote, have to go through the same 3 to 4 to 5 hour long lines in some of these airports. And the anchor was saying, oh, nothing is an equalizer, like everyone having to go through the same process. And that's just said, and there was some chuckles behind it. Why is it that we're willing to accept that there's so many people that we openly will accept have a different outlook or a different experience in our entire system versus the rest of us? And in order for us to really drive home that they shouldn't be doing this that way, is to force them to live the life that every rest of us live. What is it about these folks that allows them, in this particular case, the president, to talk all of this that he talks, then without following through on doing it the same way? And we're just willing to accept it. He'll be exposed. He'll be talked about the way that he does these things, and we'll point it out, but then we'll move on. Nothing is ever done about it. And those mechanisms come from, again, those other less powerful individuals in these elected offices that are unwilling to do it. And is it out of fear? Is it out of unwilling to lose their position of hierarchy of a power? Or is it that they believe something completely different and they're hiding it from us? I believe like in this country, we're reaching this point because we're in this age of extra information. So many people can see so many different things. And as people are finally realizing what it is that we've always kind of experienced here with this, some people having less power than others, as it's spreading to more and more people are being upset about it. So the fights that happen are turning into bigger fights. They're turning into exposures of the way that things have always been. And maybe some of us that have been disenfranchised the most have been screaming these things from the rooftops for decades. I mean, since we got here, if we're talking specifically from our experiences. So I guess that's a long way of saying, I'm not sure how we can get, the majority of the country, the people here, it doesn't matter what political side of the aisle you're on, because Republicans vote by mail, Republicans have mail-in ballots and all that. But for some reason, the discussions are always based upon who it is that's opposing this president based off of their mail-in ballots, when there's so many people who use mail-in ballots. So I guess, again, one more time, the short answer is, yeah, it's a way of disenfranchising voters still in the same place. Paul Weyrich back in 1980 or 81 said, representative of the Republican Party.
Yes,
said,
hold on. No, we got to save that. We got to save that because I listened to that actual speech multiple different times, just taking notes on it and trying to see where the variance. Yeah, no, you find that spectrum and trying to see where the separation of but we'll get into that in a second.
Okay.
But what I want to swing back around to real quick, with you, Lynn, is defining this as a poll tax and digging into that. Let's pull those layers back a little bit. Why would you, along with Wig, define this as a poll tax?
Because as a voter, you're now given more guardrails, more restrictions, and more levels of difficulty in order to exercise your right to vote in a presidential election.
Well,
so I guess. So because there's another way of looking at that, right? And one of the things that was mentioned already is the hurdles that our culture has always had to face in getting to the polls in general, right? Now, as it would stand, we still face hurdles, whether it be being in line at a certain time, making sure you don't pass out from dehydration, thirst, or getting arrested for giving people water or sustenance while in line. One would argue that this is just essentially the run-of-the-mill type of deal. What pulls this out? What makes this exceptional at this point? Why is this an exceptional thing? Just because, again, our Constitution is umpteen hundred years old at this point. There needs to be revisions. There needs to be some changes taking place, and I think we can all agree to that. So where do you start it? And is this the wrong place to start it? Right? So Wig, I'll let you dig in on that a little bit. Or if you want to swing back and pick back up on that, Lynn, by all means.
No. Let me go second or third on that one. That was a lot.
Okay,
James,
I have no problem staying on it. You know, when you see a situation where the rules change while the game is being played, that's always suspect, in my opinion. You know, when you start out with this president, you were able to mail in your ballot. You were able to go and adhere to whatever the rules for that particular state are. I've been here in Texas for 24 years, and I'm accustomed to going to the polls with my ID, with my voter registration card, in case. I've never really had to pull it out and use it, but I have those two things with me when I go to vote. I've never voted by mail since I've left the military. So how that process works, our resident mail-in expert is above me, Rich. So for me, the mail-in ballot situation does not personally affect me, but I know it personally affects other voters and affects the outcome of an election. And to change the rules in the midst of while we're pulling into the midterm train station, to me is just philosophically wrong.
Okay.
Making things more difficult.
Yeah, I'll kick that over to you, Jay. Where are you at? Because you look like you were about to posture and say something about it.
Well, I think it just exposes again the what the intentions are. If you're objective, and I hadn't looked through everything that many of the justices on the Supreme Court had said about what they're, so far what they had been discussing on Monday. But what it does is it exposes the intent behind it. So if you're actually looking to improve our election systems, first you have to identify where the problems are. And many of the problems that have been identified aren't actually problems. The level of voter fraud that's happening is at such a minute level. It's not something that has decided previous elections. It's not something that has been questioned. That is before, someone lost and then didn't want to accept that loss. So it has to be based, at least in something that we all agree on, is based in our reality. And it's honestly, it's the struggle that we're having when it comes to all kinds of topics now lately politically. What is it that we're looking at? Is it the same thing that the rest of us are looking at? Is the reality what it is that we're looking to tackle? So if we're looking to tackle a problem, we should be able to collectively do it together if our objective is to get more people to vote, which would honestly allow our republic, our election systems, and the people to have as much of a voice as possible. But that's not, in my opinion, that's not what many of these people want, is for, the majority of the country to be represented in our election systems. And that goes back to what I was about to go to that I don't think I should go to right now.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second. I want to go back to what you said, JR, about the votes and how things how people are being treated differently. I didn't hear you bring up the Electoral College. Because when we talk about how great this country is, and we have a democratic society, but the Electoral College eliminates the majority vote of the people. That's the first problem. Mm-hmm. So this country was always based on treating people differently, which maybe you and I would agree, depending on how your family got here, your descendants, your ancestors got here. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing. Second thing, you talk about, you hear about the different justices talking. So here's Justice Alito.
Yeah.
And this is not really aimed at you, JR. This is aimed at somebody else who didn't make it tonight. So Justice Alito says, real prospect of fraud. We don't have election day anymore. We have election month or we have election months, he said. Confidence in election outcomes can be seriously undermined if the apparent outcome of the election on the day after the polls close is radically flipped by the acceptance of a big stash of ballots that flip the election. Now, that's just one quote by one justice from Monday, I believe. Mm-hmm. Another one said, Justice Gorsuch, and mind you, everyone, that these are conservative justices, asked repeatedly about the possibility that male voters might recall their votes after Election Day so as to change the outcome. I think that's bogus. I think that's a front. That's him making an excuse, saying I sent my vote in. Oh, but now I want to change my mind. He's facts. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Wigg. Go ahead. I'll stop there.
Yeah,
Wigg,
what you got?
Just when you said about they might recall their vote, as a Supreme Court justice, you would have thought that he would have been able to cite cases that happened, versus just throwing it against the wall and hoping that it stick.
So I don't disagree with you, but you actually let me swing around to this point real quick, and I'll ask this to the panel in a second. One of the purposes, as far as I understand it, for not only the SAVE Act, which we covered a couple of weeks last week or the week before, but moving and segueing into the mail-in ballot being heard by the Supreme Court.
The whole thing's being heard, not just mail-in ballot.
Yeah, no,
all of those situations are being heard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Voter ID saying that when you go to vote. Well, wait, we never established this, because I went back and read this. This is really important. So maybe someone on the panel can tell me this. from what I'm reading, it says voters who register by mail would be required to present their proof of citizenship in person to an election official. But what if you're already registered like me? I'm already registered by mail.
Well, so remember, I specifically read that part in the SAVE Act. Okay. Yeah, I specifically read that area, and it's a bit ambiguous. But the question that I end up coming down to, that I think we're missing, and needs a little more teeth sunken into it, is where are the actual states' involvement with what's happening now, especially since it's the states who actually legislate how their voting is going to take place, and not the federal government.
Oh, so wait a minute. So here's a liberal on the Supreme Court, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, said this dispute calls for judicial restraint, a formerly conservative value. Now, this is what she said. I didn't get a chance to look this up. She said the Constitution gives states and Congress the authority to set rules for elections. I didn't know about the Congress part.
Yes, no, I didn't read that, but I had. So there are multiple different amendments that talk about how voting is to be done, right? So Congress essentially sets the tone of it, as it were. If I have to give a quick overview, Congress sets the tone. They say, hey, we're going to have elections held this day. States, you figure out your process to holding your elections and make sure they make it in on time.
So what you're saying is, what she was saying here, the Constitution gives states and local officials authority to determine the time, the place, and manner of elections. Yes.
Now, the issue that is going to be seen, heard, and had is the authority figure who certifies that actual vote. Right. And so Wiggins said this last week. One of the issues we recently heard from a conservative bench was the U.S. mail doesn't have to deliver your mail to you or get something to the place it's supposed to arrive at on time. And as a citizen, you can't sue them. You can't do anything about it.
So I got that covered. See, I knew you were coming to that. So I got that covered. So I got first of all, let's go back to a second. Constitution gives states and local authorities, local officials authority to determine time, place, and manner of elections, while Congress is allowed to amend those rules. Now, this is what liberal Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson is saying, and none of the other Supreme Court justices jumped on her. Congress has not indicated, at least thus far, that is intended to ever preempt this. This is what Jackson said. Now, let's go back to that post office thing, because I knew you were coming with that, Jane.
Yeah.
So you're right. United States Post Office, domestic mail manual.
You got notes.
Oh, yes.
That ain't fair, man. Okay, all right. I'll play your game.
So, now, James said this. He said this 2 months ago. The United States Post Office, December 24th, 2025, they kind of changed the way they accept mail with the post stamp. But here's what he didn't tell us. Is once you turn something to the post office, once they go to the processing at the post office, that's when they post stamp it. They date stamp it. What he didn't tell us is that you can ask the clerk at the retail counter to apply the postmark when you're there, giving it to them.
Yeah.
That's really critical. You can ask, and they cannot tell you no. And that's actually part of that domestic mail manual 608.11.
So here comes the question then, and this will open it back up for the panel, so it ain't just me and you going back at it.
Okay.
Is that going to help anything, any part of the situation? So you can get it stamped right ahead of time, but what's being said in Supreme Court right now essentially is what's being called into question is when it's actually certified, or should it be counted after a specific time, right? Just because you got it stamped, if it doesn't arrive to the proper clerk at a specific time by the date or on the date when the incumbents are supposed to be elected, is it to be counted anytime after?
If you take your mail ballot to the post office on the election date and you ask that clerk to post stamp it, It gets marked that date, it gets counted, regardless of when it was processed. Now, in the state of California, the state that this is not my home state, this is where I reside in. We go righteously 7 days. 7 days to create Earth, 7 days to take Earth out of here. 7 days. Now, the state of Mississippi, ironically, the same people who are fighting to uphold this in Mississippi, the mail-in ballots, they go 14 days past Election Day to count that ballot, as long as it was mailed on Election Day. So, again, like Lynn said a couple times in the last few podcasts, how important is this to you? How important is you honoring the legacy, if there is a legacy for your ancestors, about voting in this country? If you feel like they're trying to apply a poll tax, okay, I can respect that. But after all that is said and done, are you still voting? Since they started talking this over a year ago, did you make sure you had your certified birth certificate? Because some of you tell me, you can't afford a passport. Did you make sure you got the new driver's license, real ID, so they can track your every move? Did you do that? Because if you got a real ID, you had to use a birth certificate to get a real ID driver's license. So this whole year's been going through. Instead of arguing, did you try to get your birth certificate by contacting your state Bureau of Vital Statistics? Did you do that?
So I hear what you're saying, and I let everybody else hop into, but I don't think that this should be directly put on the voter, right?
Okay.
Because that's not a fair thing to do, right?
Okay.
If you look at the SAVE Act, there's a provision in it that says that the states would have to conform to the actual act 30 days after it has been essentially placed into law.
Right.
Jay, do you have your currently, do you have your birth certificate?
I do.
Lynn, do you have yours?
Yes, sir.
Richard, do you have yours?
I got 2 or 3.
Wig, do you have yours?
I'm but I'm not.
No, I believe you. Say again, Wig.
Yeah, I got mine.
And so for every one of us that actually has our birth certificate, how many people don't?
How many of us know someone who does not have real ID, birth certificate, any of these 3, passport, any of those documents? Do you know anyone that does not?
Allegedly, I didn't check the source. Allegedly, Black folks 30 and under, half of them don't have any of this. Allegedly.
Where that's based in. I'm not asking for like sources because it's hard to have everything. I know you got your notes, but like I know it's hard for like on the fly for things. But like based on who, like where are those statistics necessarily coming from? Is this like word of mouth? Is one of those things where it's like they poll people and ask them? So how much is it verified that it's half of people under 30? Because what I've heard, which again is based and unverified from what I've read from a year or 2 ago, sometimes it's an issue for older folks, maybe because of the tracking systems, how long they've been around, if they've had the mobility to do this. Because I know plenty of elderly folks who have issues getting around, getting to these situations, being on a fixed income. Maybe they can't afford these processes. And what I've also noticed in just my personal experiences, we tend to, maybe just even in our community, older folks tend to take the seriousness of voting more serious than many of us do at a younger age, because they've experienced how much our rights could be taken away based off of not having people in positions where they can be represented sufficiently. So many times we may hear from our elders about how important it is, and many of us at younger ages, and I know all of us aren't necessarily young. I mean, I'm guessing based off of the gray beards that we've all got. I mean, some of us got that we're kind of in the mid-range here. So sometimes there's these separations, and I say this even when it comes to, like, say, internet usage. We always make fun of and talk about the older folks maybe don't know how to use an email, even as simple as that, or even go on social media. But we find out sometimes younger folks have the same issue, but for different reasons with how to access things. Maybe because they don't care as much. They don't see the severity of how much they need to be represented in their country through their vote. And maybe that's waking up to a degree. Maybe they get people to come and educate them on this or generate some kind of excitement behind it. But the hard thing is to then assume everybody has the time, money, transportation, and ability to get many of these things. So again, it goes back to my original point. What's our objective? Is our objective to fix any of our problems, or is our objective to make it harder for some people? And maybe that's where the conversations and disagreements come in, because then we start to question many of the people in power who maybe put together some of this legislation or laws in place, what their objective is in making these decisions. Do they want to disenfranchise more people? Or do we just trust their intentions based off of people that we just don't know?
Well,
hold on, Rich. Hold on. Get 1 second, Lynn. I need you to jump in there, because this was one of the points that you had talked about a couple of weeks ago. You asked a very similar question about this very thing. So if you could just refresh us on what you actually said during that time.
I believe you're referencing my comment about Black people have ID.
Yeah.
And just like Jared just asked the question, how many people do you know who do not have ID? I don't know anybody that I would have to do some serious research, some canvassing, and a whole bunch of things. We have ID. Now, what we're not doing, enough of us, is exercising our right to vote.
I agree.
For whatever reason. But making ID a requirement, I don't see that as a hindrance or suppression or what's the other word, a poll tax. I see that as making sure that the system is done in a process with integrity. So that takes the voter fraud argument, which Jair said, and I agree, the amount of voter fraud that occurs is microscopic.
Yeah.
But you can, you can just say anything you want. Like the stupid thing, like the Democrats are going to let all these illegal people into the country.
Yeah.
These illegal people can go and vote for a Democrat. And when you know the rules, illegals cannot vote because of the way the system is currently set up.
Lynn,
you can't get registered to vote,
Lynn,
unless you are properly documented.
Lynn.
Yes.
I'm going to agree with just about everything you said up to that last part.
What part?
The state about people who are not here in the country legally not being able to vote. And I wish I was talking to my friend from DMV. Here in the state of California, it's very interesting. Because here in the state of California, if you somehow get a driver's license, they automatically send you a voter registration.
Right. But is it a real ID?
Since they went to the real ID, I am not sure.
I'm sure that someone who is here illegally cannot get a real ID. That was the whole purpose of that process.
So, and you know what? You're probably right.
So listen, can someone here illegally get a driving privilege in the United States?
A notebook.
Yes.
Write that down.
But that's not enough to get registered to vote in a presidential election.
So
right.
what President Trump, and I'm not trying to defend President Trump on this, I think this is garbage. Prior to having to get a real ID in the state of California, if you got a driver's license, they would automatically send you a voter's registration. Now, when they send it to you automatically, did that guarantee you that they was going to pass you? Did they do any checks? They were supposed to be doing checks to make sure that giving you the driver's, because you got the driver's license, allowing you to register to vote, they had to make sure that you were a U.S. citizen. They should have been doing that. Can I guarantee you that was happening? No, I cannot.
Okay.
And because California is such a huge state in regards to electoral votes, and President Trump accuses California trying to destroy the country, a lot of this that he's aiming at is aimed at California.
Well, yeah, because Newsom is giving it back to him the same way he gives it to everybody else, and he can't take it.
And that's fine, because
makes shit on himself a little bit.
Yeah, so that's all I got to say. I'm done there.
So let me read this, Wig, and then we'll jump over to you. I pulled this up, and this is the AI overview of what we're talking about. It says approximately 3.8 million voting age American citizens, about 2%, lack any form of citizenship documentation, such as a birth certificate or passport. Furthermore, roughly 21.3 million U.S. adults cannot readily access these documents, with younger adults The age was that specifically is 18 through 29, and people of color facing higher rates of lacking identification. And then it goes through key findings of birth certificate ID access. Voting age, about 9.1% of American adult citizens, or 21.3 million people, do not have a birth certificate, passport, or naturalization certificate easily available. Total lack of documentation, approximately 3.8 million voting age citizens completely lack any of these documents, according to 2024 survey from the Brennan Center of Justice and others. Age gaps, adults aged 18 through 29 are more likely, 31%, to face potential voting issues due to missing or outdated IDs compared to just 11% of those over 30. And that study is from the Center of Democracy and Civic Engagement. Gender, I'm not going to go through the gender, but I looked at the down here demographic disparities, and it says race. People of color, 11%, are more likely than white people, 8%, to lack easy access to citizenship documents. That's what the AI overview on Google is saying. Now, whether or not that's 100% accurate, I can't say, because I haven't had the time to dig in, but I will look at those actual referenced areas to figure that out. But it's saying that we don't have documentation by and large.
So wait a minute. We talked about this over a year ago or 2 years ago. There was a percentage of young black folks that was marching on Black Lives Matter, saying that the police were out of control. Okay, so historically in America, we know that police have not treated African Americans correctly. And I said this. They said, well, Richard, are you out there marching? I said, no, I'm not. I said, why not? Because I'm saving my vote. My vote. And so when all those young black folks were marching, I thought to myself, do you have a driver's license? Do you have a birth certificate, social security card? Are you a registered voter? In fact, more importantly, when you young black folks is talking about my black ass, saying I ain't holding it down, but when your black ass gets caught up in the system for a crime you didn't commit because you didn't have no damn ID on you, tag brother North St. Louis, you just caught a case, and then you go to the jury, you can't find no black folks except for my black ass on the jury pool. See, and this is where things get funny. So all that marching, and it did work for a period of time. But what I want to know long-term, young black folks, because I didn't start voting until later on in life. I was stuck on stupid. But nobody really came at me and questioned my blackness. Because if they had, I would have been voting a lot sooner. Because I knew growing up what I was supposed to do. I just didn't do it. So all that Black Lives Matter and all this hip-hop music and all this and that, do you have a real ID? Do you have a social security card? Do you have a birth certificate? Maybe if you got some baller money, you got a passport. Some young black folks who are balling legally, they got passports.
I hate to say this, but it feels like you're kind of wagging your finger in the camera, like, and saying, "Get off my goddamn grass, young person."
I am, and if I come across like Dr. Cosby, then I ask you to forgive me. if I am.
Look, you don't want to come across like Dr. Cosby.
Dr. Cosby is, to me, still an incredible asset to the black community, and I don't care what other people outside my community tell me about Dr. Cosby.
I would change that to Dr. Huxtable.
I stand by Dr. Wait a minute, hold on a second. If somebody came out to me tomorrow and said, "Well, JR, he stabbed 1,000 white folks out there in the street," you know what I'm gonna say? I'm gonna say, "Well, the JR Jackson that I met, if he had to stab 1,000 white people on the street, he would have to defend himself. He was probably acting very reasonable." I don't know all the evidence yet because I'm part of the jury pool. So let me hear the evidence.
We got to get him out.
This is how you check black folks. You talk about, "Oh, I'm black and I'm down and my pants is sagging and I don't need no education and blah 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 blah." I don't hear all that. What I want to know is when it's time to go to that courtroom, is your ass in that jury pool? What I want to know is, did you vote? I don't care if you voted for a Democrat or a Republican or an alien that came down last night. You was kicking it at the club, having a few drinks. Did your black ass vote?
That's bad.
When white folks look at you, now I'm just gonna say, when white folks look at you and you talking all that stuff, they have a very funny way at the bar or in the work environment to ask you, "Did you vote?" "No, I ain't really read all that." And they smile.
Richard,
Hell,
do you do community outreach? I'm just asking for the sake of, like, in these situations, what interactions have you had with younger Black folks that come at you sideways?
When you're in the barbershop, because we never really get to that conversation because we're stuck on the conversation of how do you interact with these people. So when young Black folks say, "Hey, man, I ain't letting nobody disrespect me," blah blah blah, and then I throw it back at them. Well, hold on a second. No, I'm an ex-felon. I got a felony on my record. And the cops pull me over. I already know what time it is. So my question is to you: when I talk to your mama because you had your head blown off, you would rather be carried by 6 than judged by 12.
What's their reasoning behind that? That they told you? I'm not from
because young Black people are telling me they have their pride in who they are, and that's fantastic. And they're not gonna let no cop disrespect them. And my question is, can you live through that police stop and get to the courtroom to sue the police department and come up so you can get a passport and fly all across the country? To fly to other countries? So your mama and your sisters and brothers ain't crying over you, having a car wash to raise for the funeral expenses for you? But see, when I say that, they say, "Oh, you sound like my uncle. You sound like my dad. You sound like a Black Republican." No, what I'm simply saying, because when we do this show, JR, and we have to go at these so-called, some of these white folks who are prejudiced or a little bit racist, they say, "Oh, you want to yell at us, but you don't check your own." Well, tonight, we're going to check everybody tonight. So what's right is right, what's wrong is wrong. And so, yes, like I said, JR, during the Puffy trial, if my Black ass had been on that jury pool and I would have heard the evidence, he's walking out of there.
Okay.
This place. Okay, fair enough.
So the connection here between James read through some of the percentages of Black folks that don't have access to these identifications. And I'm not sure the percentage of these younger Black folks, and maybe that was in there, James, that you talked about, that don't have these identifications. But I feel like the next question then has to be and engage with them with why, rather than having these confrontational moments where it's accusatory, which if they come at you with an accusatory language, I don't see the purpose. If we're trying to, back to my original point, because I feel like we miss it because there's so many different ways to be distracted from it. What is it we would like to get done here? Do we want them to vote, or do we want to tell them that we have it better and more figured out than they do? Because I feel you, Richard. In the first presidential election that I was old enough to vote in 2000, I didn't vote in it because I had the mindset of they're all the same, right?
Yeah.
And once I started studying and looking into what is that's happening, it's very nuanced. And we like to simplify things just as a country, because honestly, how many different things do we have to be stressed out by looking into taking care of, from childcare to jobs to eating to taking care of your family to continuing to feed your marriage, to just living and getting by. So when the police are behind you and you're trying to get to your job, or say you catch a case that I didn't stab these 1,000 white folks, I don't have the time, money, or patience to go through this entire court system to get through the point where I got to prove myself from 12 people who traditionally in this country always did things the wrong way because of our inadequate justice system, which we continue to work on to this day. So there's a lot of factors that go in, and I know all these cases aren't the same, because we've seen plenty of Black folks that sit in the car, hand the license, the real ID, and say, I have no weapons, my hands are on the steering wheel, and their Black ass still ends up dead. So we still have these situations that happen.
Philando Castile in Minnesota, you talking about that particular isolated case?
That's and it's not the only one.
Okay.
So
I agree with you on that.
Yeah. And so if I'm just, even the family of Philando Castile, that's my only brother, and I'm never gonna get over that. So when the money is raised at the car wash, or when moms and sisters are crying over it, they're still crying right now over it. I don't see them having any reason to trust this system, that is, until it starts catering to them the way that it catered against them. So I would just like to know more of the stories behind these younger Black folks that maybe are in a club, or maybe they're not in a club. Maybe they've got $100,000 worth of school loans that they're trying to figure out how to pay off. There's so many different stories. I just want us to be able to understand that there's so many of them.
Wait a minute. As a reasonable person, JR, I know you're right, and so does the whole panel, and so does everybody watching the show. you're making a reasonable argument. But the argument that I'm making is that if you in this country is going to achieve something, you're going to do it legally.
Mhm.
Now, at the end of the day, after all the different reasoning, the way you win in this country, at least what they tell us,
Some people.
is through the court system. And all I'm simply saying is, to all those black folks in the 60s that put their lives on the line, people like Medgar Evers, gone. Malcolm X, gone. Dr. King, gone. The little black girls in the church down in Birmingham, gone. All those black folks, Emmett Till, were their lives taken for free? Because even if you don't, because people get mad at me because I don't vote all Democrat. I don't belong. I'm a no party preference. Let me repeat this again. I'm a no party preference.
Yeah.
So, put that in all caps.
No, it's in the thing. No party preference. So I'm simply asking people, particularly young people, but not just young people, because Lynn pointed this out. So many black folks refuse to vote. And JR, when you said that you thought all the elections were basically the same, you know what, JR? I'm not going to criticize that at all. I think there's a whole lot of truth in what you said. But in order to complain about the process, and then I'll shut my mouth. In order to complain about the process in this country, how do you do it? Well, some people say you have to get a job and pay taxes. I'm going to say you vote as
You got to
well.
participate.
Yeah.
And this is the crux of our argument. And I don't think this is an argument, a discussion. Apologies. How do you participate? And do the powers that be make it easy enough to participate as... Okay, so you live in California. You live in Los Angeles, Richard?
Sacramento.
Lynn, I see you got the USC hat on. First of all, apologies for not shouting you out first off. Fight on. That's my alma mater.
Oh, his alma mater.
Look at Mr. Glass. Normally, man, I gotta fight.
Yeah, you do. Like your name, Mister.
You got a dude in Ohio that went to the Ohio State. You got somebody else that went to Alabama. I actually am a Temple alum.
Oh, okay. Lovely.
My first college football experience
Uh-huh.
at the age of 9 was the Battle for Los Angeles, and my grandfather took me, and that's why I wear this hat. And the last time one of the last times I was with my grandfather, I was at the Texas USC game.
Well, not the Vince Young one. I hope it wasn't the Vince Young Texas USC.
It was that was the one.
I thought we was gonna have a nice rapport today.
That was the one. I'm just saying I was there with my grandfather. And you know what? You know what he said? He said in 70 years of watching football, that was the best football game he ever saw.
It actually was
and
close.
He lost.
Yeah, it was close. My favorite was Fresno State. Reggie Bush going crazy.
Gotcha.
That's when I literally thought I was gonna pass out. I think I lost the train of my thought now.
How do young people participate, or how do you participate in the process?
Yeah, so the education on it, the ability to go and find out where to get these things. I've been surprised. By the way, my attitude as far as in 2000 when I didn't vote, it's nuanced now because it takes that much research, that much looking into the people and their platforms, and then once you look into the people and their platforms. The reason I asked about where you guys are in California is because I used to live in Los Angeles. I moved down here to Louisiana 2 years ago.
Well, JR, I'm actually in Houston, Texas.
Okay. Do not go to the airport.
They actually had a 30-minute wait today.
No way. What's going on?
They had a window. It was on the news. They had a window, and the wait was 30 minutes. I don't know what they did. I don't know what happened, but there was a 30-minute window earlier today. It's probably back up to 4 hours now, but they had a window.
But so even people that are educated on the system are very engaged in their voting. If you look at some of these propositions that are put forward, and again, my experience was in Los Angeles, so I assume it's in many other parts of the state. It's these propositions get put, and the language is put in these voting documents. Very, I mean, you don't know who the author of these things are. Sometimes you have to have people read it differently or explain to some other folks exactly what this means, because sometimes they're even trying to fool people as you've gone through the process, gotten your real ID, you've proven your citizenship, you've got your birth certificate, and you're still in this place where you have to analyze and debate with yourself. Wait a second, am I being lied to with what this proposition will do? Because there's one party that's telling me it's doing this, and there's another party that's telling me it's doing something else. So it's further than just getting there and voting, because then there's plenty of people who went, I voted for this, because they still weren't even educated on that. And how is it? I read up on it because it is literally my full-time job. If this wasn't my job, there's so many things that I would miss, and I still miss a lot of things. I still haven't read up fully on what happened with the Supreme Court decision, or even in the aspects of the SAVE Act that they'd like to get by, because I've been talking about this devastating war that we've been conducting in Iran.
Hey, but one quick point on that.
Yeah.
Even though you're right, that decision that was made today in California court about young people getting on social media and getting addicted. So you can get addicted to social media, but you can't get addicted to fighting I tell you what, when AI takes away so many jobs, I guarantee young people start voting then, because they'll want that check in the mail every month.
You said, I'm sorry, you went down when you said AI takes away what? I didn't hear.
I said when AI takes away all these jobs,
other jobs,
or a certain number of jobs, young people will start voting to get that check in the mail every month. That's coming.
I mean, we would hope. I mean, because then sometimes people wild out. So, you know, there's sometimes negative responses to, you know, bad times coming on you that you maybe didn't expect or anticipate. That's, again, something that has to, you know, have to teach this like mental maturity or understanding how to maneuver through the world. I have a 14-year-old son. I was just telling him yesterday, and it's as simple as just baseball. I said, when something happens and it doesn't work out in your favor, if your head is down, you're not looking up and seeing the 4 to 5 other avenues that you can actually take in response to what just bad thing happened to you. And that's something that has to be taught, to given like this experience that I've lived in the 46 years that I've been around here. And everybody doesn't have the, I guess, the resources to get this type of education, to know even just how to emotionally navigate this world, which, as you mentioned, that, you know, the social media decision that was made today. If these things are presented to young folks in a way that they take it in, where literally they study the way the developing brains take this stuff in, if it's given to them in a way that's engaging, they will take it. My kid loves history. The reason why is because when he was like 4 years old, he was on this app that made it fun. It was cartoonish version, and it told the real stories, because I double checked just in case they was lying to him. Yeah. So it made it gave him this baseline of wanting to learn about this stuff or remembering this stuff. There's historical lessons this kid remembers, and I'm like, man, I didn't remember that at all, because I learned it in a boring way and I was just a nerd. He took it in and it was fun for him. So again, if our purpose is for them to learn, we have to present in a way that's engaging for them, rather than expecting them to just become 30-year-old adults at 10 and figuring it out on their own. But then again, that takes a lot of work from us too. I feel like I'm rambling and not come up with a solid point. It's just, there's so many nuanced areas and avenues and directions that we could take that make this argument so hard to just say it's one singular reason why it's the way that it is. And from our perspective of, you know, Black folks in this country.
Yeah.
So here's my thing.
Because I understand many things you're saying, Richard. I get where you're coming from in one of these ways.
Word about making it fun and interesting. If I was a genius, I'd be able to create something and then attract young people to vote. And then some of y'all would say, well, Richard, don't get too carried away, because if you get too good at it, you know what happened to you last time you got carried away trying to help people. So I understand that. But something else caught my attention about you said people are treated differently. This is why I don't believe in the two-party system. The TSA. Now, allegedly, I keep saying the word allegedly, that a lot of Black folks have jobs working for the TSA.
You always hear that, don't we?
I thought that Black folks didn't want to work, but now allegedly they have all the jobs at TSA. I'm confused. I don't know.
Are they the Black jobs?
That's where they hear them. That's where they hear them. Yeah, TSA.
But my thing is,
just in case they got to put them on a quick flight, get them out of here.
Has any politician up there in D.C., either Democrat or Republican, from either house or either chamber said, we will pass these budgets, and if we don't pass these budgets, we don't get paid? They don't play those games. They're gonna keep protected. They're gonna keep. Go ahead, James.
Kennedy mentioned he said he did say something about that during the last shutdown. Yeah, he did mention that the last time he proposed that during any future shutdowns, and of course it didn't get voted on. That essentially that Senate doesn't get paid until they come up with a solution. And
for the Senate or for both chambers?
I think he was specifically talking about the Senate.
Okay.
Yeah, whenever the bill was kicked back over to the Senate.
Listen to this. This is how silly we are as a country. You work for the federal government, for the number one country on earth, the leader of the free world, and they can't pass a budget, so they can't pay you, but they still collect their check. It sounds like you being pimped out.
Well, I don't even want to go to the point of not paying just the American people, but I'll pivot just a little bit and say not only are things shut down for the average American, there's another ask for another $200 billion, right?
Yep.
And not just another $200 billion, but we also have people who are getting billions of dollars from foreign countries to put in their personal coffers while making legislation to assist said countries to continuously sustain this war that has now been at a bit of a focal point, alluded to that it could take at least a year for regime change for other countries to feel comfortable with regime change. Now, I'm not trying to get too far into the Iran war.
Oh, no.
I'm just simply saying that we haven't paid ourselves, and we still have another part of the federal government asking for more money.
I have said this 1,000 times, and Deuce has laughed and criticized, and I have said this shit. Your money is printed out of thin air. When Trump said, I need 200 billion more, where does it come from? It's going to come from the Fed. The Fed's going to tell the Treasury, print the money up and pay it back to us. Put it on your bill that you already owe us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you can print money anytime you want, Mr. Glass, to support a foreign country. But if you said we're going to have universal health care and take care of our own U.S. citizens and create the best school system so we don't need foreigners to come over here, you would say, oh, we can't do that. That's the Republican shit.
No, I was in a bit of a debate with another brother of mine, and I made that exact same point, essentially saying that you can't tell me that doctors and nurses, you can't tell me that we have to sacrifice the quality of our healthcare system because we expand it to universal healthcare, right? And still make public healthcare available for people if we are requesting an additional $200 billion to fund
wait a minute.
something that we're not, a war that we're not at war with.
How many billions, and I'm not trying to sound anti-Israel. I'm always got to qualify when I say shit.
You shouldn't have to, but I
shouldn't have to. Yeah. How many billions go to Israel every year? I thought it was 4.
Lots.
How much?
Lots and lots.
Yeah, it's
10 billion go to Israel every year. Okay, you said that's our number one ally in the Middle East. Okay, fine. You said that's God's chosen people.
Subjectively.
Let's move on. Okay, but you can't spend some money here to educate our children. You know what? This is worse than being prejudiced or racist against black kids. When you can't educate your own white kids, you've got a problem. I'm serious. If you say we ain't educating your black ass, Richard, because you ain't gonna act right, you're not grateful how we brought your ancestors over here. I am conditioned in this country from the time I was born to accept that. But what I cannot accept is when you tell little white kids they're not good enough. I can't accept that because they weren't raised to accept some shit like that.
Now you're sounding like Elder Paul Mooney. That's who you're starting to sound like.
And this, but you know what's, as I guess in reference to what I was mentioning earlier.
Please go ahead. Actually, before you go,
yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead and expound on what you were mentioning earlier. I think we're ready for it. I was going to say it a bit differently, but yes, by all means, go back to the 1981.
Oh no, I wasn't going to be on that. It was if you want to go to, it's cool.
No, you got it. Go ahead.
As we're seeing, we got this system, this capitalistic system where these corporations, these billionaires, the amount of money that's being siphoned their way from bills to just our system and the way our workforce goes, it has to come to a head because there's only so much that can be taken from the majority of the people in the country that goes to the fewest at the top. So the more and more people, referencing Richard, the white folks getting educated thing, it's now crossing into those lines because there's just not enough money left. Now, the rural white folks and the white folks that don't make over $100,000 and the white folks that aren't millionaires, they're starting to get their education system cut down. They're starting to get, their food cut down. They're starting to get to the same degree that, many folks, because of what we look like and where we came from, always got. And that's what's building more of this coalition of people who are like, hold on, now you're coming for me? There's so many people that voted in certain ways in past elections and went, I didn't vote for you to come and take away my rights. I voted for you to take away someone else's rights. And now they're just as mad as everyone else. So even when you mentioned the Black Lives Matter protests in 2020, there was plenty of white folks out there.
Yeah,
plenty.
I was out there.
Because it's become this collective mindset of us sharing the same experience now that many of us have been disenfranchised from, have been beaten down for many years in this country. And now it's spreading to more folks than just through the color of folks' skin and their backgrounds and their accents and their parents, but more because of they just don't have the same positions in life of being ultra wealthy, or at least somewhat adjacent to that. So I'm just, my whole point being is, there's now it's stretched beyond just us and other folks like us to be disenfranchised and kept from the same opportunities in this country, which we've always said everyone's had the same opportunities. So it's gonna get worse because there's no limit to how much they're willing to take in order to give to the folks who literally don't need it.
I think the voting thing, and that's why I think this voting thing, this is a loser for President Trump.
His voters are gonna be hurt by this.
Yeah, this is a losing. If someone says, "Hey, people should all have to vote on election day or have their mail-in ballots postmarked by the election day, deadline," that's reasonable. And then you say you got a week. 2 weeks is a little bit too long. Those votes should all have been counted within 3 to 7 days after the election day. That's reasonable, and he's not wrong on that. But what he's trying to do is really trying to really squeeze it to where he can make people so upset that they don't want to vote. In my opinion, is that kind of a poll tax where you make someone so upset they don't want to vote? It's subjective. But here's the biggest trick of what he's doing. Because I've defended him on some of the things he's done, and then some things I totally disagree with him on. He's going to muddy this so much that no matter how much the Democrats win in November, he's going to discount it. And then he's going to blame the Republican Party for not getting the bill passed and say, I didn't do anything wrong.
Well, yeah.
Now, he hasn't tried that stunt yet in Florida, where in the state house in Florida, where his district in Mar-a-Lago got flipped to a Democrat. He hasn't done that yet. Not yet. But all these things. But my thing to black folks is, if you know that they're out to really try to take your vote away, if that's how you feel, can you please start now contacting the Bureau of Vital Statistics? There's somebody in your family that knows how to do it. Now, your mama probably has your birth certificate. Okay, I'll stop. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, this is the thing. And this I think was helpful because there's nonprofit groups, there's volunteer groups that go out to try and help and assist people get registered to vote. We've seen that. That's nothing new.
Yep.
And even those groups started to be demonized as if they're doing something fraudulent in helping folks in these positions. So it goes back, I'm sorry for saying it the fifth time. What is our objective here? If the objective collectively in this country, Republican, Democrat, or anyone in between, to get the most people registered to vote, and even if you want everyone to vote on election day, how do you make that happen? You have to analyze what people's hurdles are in getting there. Sometimes it's based on just because you live in Alaska and you're in some rural area and you have to drive 45, 50 minutes to get to the polling location, and maybe you don't have gas because it's up to $4.15 a gallon, or your car done broke down, or the weather's inclement. Any of this stuff that goes into it, we have to figure a way where that could potentially happen. I've got a coworker who's said for years, why don't we have a voting holiday? How come we don't take off the day to vote the way that we take off the day for Christmas, for Easter, for Columbus Day? Damn. I can't take it sometimes, some of the things we take off days for, because it's not that important to the powers that be. Because as you were about to get to, James, they don't want more people to vote.
Yeah. And so even before I get to that point, Wig, you haven't jumped in a while, but I need to hear from you. So the question that I'll start with you on, just bringing it back around to where we are with mail-in ballot stuff. Is this well, it's actually two questions, right? Because I know we've got to push off soon, but when should a vote be considered invalid, right? When should it be considered invalid? That's the first question. And the second question is all of this that's happening, because to me, politics is nothing more than another theater of performance, unfortunately, in a lot of different ways. But is this simply another way to disenfranchise more voters?
I think, excuse me, I think that to go back to, I think is what JR said. So what are we trying to do here? Do you
Hmm.
want more people? Do you more people to vote, or do you just want to make it harder for people to vote? Only they know what they're trying to do. Because at the end of the day, if you really wanted to fix it, you could say, okay, like my man just said, if you could take St. Patty's Day. Why if this day is so this day?
Cinco de
What I want to
Mayo.
say. This day right here, what this day does is set the precedence for the future of the country. So why is this day not a holiday? With the importance of, if it's so important, I'm pretty sure we got all kind of other holidays we can get rid of. You don't want to add more to it. So I just think it depends on what you're really trying to do. And as far as a vote, when is a vote invalid? Wow. I don't know how you're gonna. I don't know how you're really gonna do that one right there, because I don't know too many people that sign their signature the same way every time.
Okay.
Well, whatever determining factors would cause you, say it's 5 days, say it's a week, say it's 2 days, whatever people can analyze and look into, say the normal processes people may go through to go to it, whatever that determination may be, the next step I feel like would be is put in a system and an infrastructure in place where we can live up to that. Say it's 3 days. And if we determine 3 days is a good a number, then how do we make sure that states, local voting locations can live up to that people can have that opportunity to be within those barriers? Because of course there'll be people that don't live up to it no matter what. There's always going to be someone who's, maybe they're a procrastinator, maybe they forgot, maybe they, an emergency happened, whatever reason. I feel like as long as it's easy enough, and then give them a way to live within that time frame, that's all we can do. Have we done that yet though? I feel everything's done so arbitrarily, like, oh, you know what happens? It's been this long and that means it's fraudulent. Based on what? Give me some evidence, please, because we don't do things based in evidence anymore. We do it based in opinion and arguments and anger and accusatory language over what the other person is trying to do to destroy this country. And that's not real. That's your opinion, man.
Well, one quick thing. Sheriff Bianco here down in Riverside, I think it's Riverside, they've seized some ballots in the 2025 Prop 50 special election about the redistricting here in California. So he's claiming election fraud. But I want to go back to what you said about, establishing the rules for a federal election. Now, when I said this years ago, all the Republicans jumped on me. I said, when you vote for the House or the Senate or the president, there should be a federal standard for every state, the same federal standard. And they said, no, because you're violating the Constitution. The states can decide the time. How we do it. Ironically, this individual, President Trump, is being a hypocrite to the Republican Party because he's trying to nationalize federal voting. You're listen to this. You are trampling on state rights. But see, this is why some black folks say that some white people are racist and full of it, and they speak with a forked tongue. Some. You are trampling on state rights. Because trust and believe, if Obama was talking about doing a federal standard,
Right. Yeah.
It's a joke. It's a joke. So when I tell people on here, I look at each issue. And I don't always go with the Democratic side. I don't always go with the Republican side. But But on this particular issue, I think overall, the Democrats are right. Overall. So,
Okay.
But unfortunately, if you ask me to predict what the Supreme Court is going to do, they're going to say, you know what, JR? They're going to give you what you want. They're going to say, if that mail-in ballot is not postmarked by the post office on election day, and it's not, you cast it on election day in the mail-in, and so you ask the postman to postmark it. If that thing's not counted within 7 days, it's not counting. They're gonna shut that down. And they're gonna be no more 2 or 3 weeks or 2 or 3 months. No, they're gonna have that election results done within a day or 3 days, like you said, JR, on that issue.
And the question after say they shut that down, will they then allow communication to be put forward that that's the way it'll work? I mean, the other part of what gets people disenfranchised is purposeful misdirection and misguided language about even what election day is. Forget mail-in voting, forget counting ballots a week late. There are political figures and there are political movements that literally target certain people in certain areas that they know won't vote in their direction, and make sure and try to misguide on their mindset of when this is even happening. So if there's language about how long you have or the hurdles you have to jump to get to it, they'll make sure you don't get that information.
Oh yeah.
Well, no, because James said it in that bill, the states have 30 days to implement it.
Yeah, that's the rule. But how do people get that information? Say they're not connected to all this information the way that, like I said.
Oh no, when the Supreme Court when they make this ruling, and allegedly this ruling is going to come out
June.
Okay, June. They should come out sooner than June. But when they come out in June with it, the states have 30 days because the general election is in November. So you got the wheel and deal, and then you got to communicate to the federal government because Trump's going to be watching the state of California and any other blue state that he's trying to slow down to make sure the way you implement it is being implemented the way the Supreme Court laid the foundation down to do that. Now, I believe that's going to happen on that issue. That's going to happen.
But let me remind everybody that just because the Supreme Court makes a ruling on something, it doesn't mean that that's the final say, because Congress has the ability to actually legislate that ruling, and they can actually come out with new legislation to overrule what the Supreme Court has actually said. That would be I don't disagree with you that they won't take the time to do it,
because both houses can't agree.
Exactly, and it'll be another shutdown and a stun and a formative measure, and somebody ain't getting paid again. Somebody kid's gonna be hungry. But let me slide this down to Lynn and ask you the same two questions. When should a vote be considered invalid, and is this more of the same to disenfranchise more voters?
All right, I'll take the second part first.
Okay.
I wouldn't use the word disenfranchise as much as I would use the word discourage. Because as we've all talked about it, if you care about voting, you're going to find a way to get it done. You're going to make that a priority, and you're going to get whatever it is you need to get in your particular state in order to vote early or on election day or by mail, because I don't think mail is being totally taken away. So if there's a way for you to play the mail-in voting game, you need to figure out those rules. As JR was talking about, a lot of times we don't participate in games that we don't understand. So, and unfortunately, we don't take the time to understand and know the rules so we can play the game successfully. So if I were doing community outreach, my soapbox would be line everything up on election season to vote early. Because here in Texas, voting early, you can vote anywhere at any polling place. It's like 90 places, but on election day, I got one choice. So if it's something that you care about, you make it a priority. I thought I came up with the quote, "What you care about gets done," but it was actually Drucker because I looked it up. Who said it? Because I've been saying that most of my life. Because I believe it. What you care about gets done.
Lynn, I think you should take that. That's
we'll rewrite history.
I wouldn't have known the difference. I'd have been like, hey, listen, Lynn said so.
Lynn said it first.
And give me the first part of the question again, because I want to make sure I answer that.
And so the first question was, when should a vote be considered invalid?
So you're talking about a mail-in vote that was properly postmarked when it arrives.
Yeah,
I would say a week.
Okay, and the reason why I'm asking this,
take a week. Let's take the time to get it right, so then we don't have to have this fraud conversation.
Right?
Because if you do it in 3 days, you can have one side saying that wasn't enough time. I agree with Richard. In Mississippi, 2 weeks, it's too long, because that's not efficient or effective. But I think a week is, in my opinion, the right amount of time to check it once, check it twice, and check it a third time if necessary. And then, because we've been waiting all year to vote on Election Day in November, right? Is another week for the accurate results, the integrity results, is another week that long to wait for? I don't think so.
Okay. And so let me qualify why I'm asking this question, because again, states are different when it comes to actually getting that count completed, right? Again, like we just had the two different cases. One state is a week, another state is 2 weeks, and then there's another state that allows up to 30 days, right? So
30 days.
I can't remember exactly which one. I have to go back and look, but depending on the parameters surrounding it, especially if they have a lot of military members who are mailing in their ballots, and I wanted to touch on that before we ended, but we'll come back around to that maybe next week. Or
that's a good point, though. I hadn't even thought about it, James.
And I'll get to it another time, because I've used absentee voting while I was in Iraq, right? But because of these different outliers, expats who live in the Philippines or Thailand or Vietnam, Japan, so on and so forth, their votes, depending on what's happening globally, their votes can get hung up. Right? My sister sent me something from Japan during Christmas, right? And it should have gotten here at Christmas, but it didn't get here until early January, because of all of the logistics that were tied up between the air and the sea. It was frustrated cargo, essentially. And
did tariffs weigh in on that?
Tariffs did not weigh in on that, because she had actually purchased the merchandise in Japan and sent it over to me.
Gotcha.
So what
through the Strait of Hormuz?
Fortunately not. We're gonna be swinging back around to Iran next week, but there are hangups in global shipping. Even when I was in Iraq, I sent all of my equipment back home, like most of us do. When we figure out what all we're going to use, what all we're not going to use, we'll ship our stuff back home. Well, my equipment, some of my equipment didn't make it until after I actually got home. Not just that, but I'm a logistics guy, right? That's what I'm subject matter expert in as far as the Army is concerned. But there were also boats that had civilian contractors who were popping our locks on our American ships and taking the doors off of our connexes and stealing our equipment. These things have been known to happen. Same thing can happen with our votes. So some areas, some people have to have a bit of a longer grace period, depending on the situation, to get those votes in or recast. I don't disagree with the week. I think a week is solid, right? But depending on where a person is in the world, a citizen is in the world, we'd have to allow for a little more grace, which would extend that out amongst all of the states respective to the residence of the person that's abroad.
I tell you what. President Trump is not going to ignore military votes. If you ignore military votes,
what is snail mail?
If you ignore
the way the military operates.
Well, you're giving them a lot of credit on that one.
if you
Woo!
or listen to this. This is again, I call people on their hypocrisy. You talk about how great our military is, and these people, these men and women, no longer transgender because you can't be. I guess you can't be transgender and be in the military anymore.
Yeah,
But
that's
these men and women are putting their lives on the line for democracy, and then you would ignore their votes. These people, taxpayers, protecting our national security, and when they want to vote from across the ocean, you're going to ignore their votes? Now that's hypocrisy.
Let me throw this in here. The basis for argument at the Supreme Court right now is based on law written in the 1800s, which is directly pointing to how soldiers were voting during the Civil War. So if that's not telling how antiquated our process is at this point in 2026, that's so to your point, like, yeah, the answer is yeah. People will be like, yeah, whatever, we don't care about them. But people generally say when they cast us aside, oh, they knew what they signed up for.
Okay, so okay. I
Throwing it out there.
at a certain point, all my cursing and outrageous behavior. At a certain point, when you ignore your military veterans, I can't. I'm done talking to you.
But let me also make this point, because I don't want to steer clear of this. And the president, our current president, has never been a strong advocate for military members. Let's make no mistake about that. He's given multiple disparaging remarks towards service members. Hell, here recently we had a war hero that passed. A war hero that passed, a Marine.
John McCain?
No, I'm talking about Mueller.
Mueller.
I'm sorry.
He said, "I'm glad he did."
Mueller. He was a Marine. This guy was a decorated freaking war hero. And instead of our president taking a presidential stance and at least honoring his service, he disrespected this man. Now we're talking about a draft dodger. This is where I'm finna be disrespectful. I just want y'all to hold on real quick. We're talking about a fucking draft dodger. Somebody who said that they were injured. And I'm finna talk about his lineage, because his grandfather did the same thing in order to get out of Germany. His grandfather did not want to actually serve in the German military, ran to Canada, started a whorehouse, tried to get back. Germany said, nah, we're not taking you. You didn't leave our country the right way. You have to get kicked out. You're no longer a citizen here. Finds his way here. That's his lineage. Let's make no mistake, right? And then he's a draft dodger, talking about a man who risked his life to not just serve his country, but save his fellow Marine. And he has the galls and audacity to disrespect a freaking war hero who did his job.
And I knew you'd walk into that.
I'll take it all day.
No, because the way he's looking at it is Mueller was trying to put him in jail. So anybody was trying to put him in jail, he was coming.
Don't break the law.
Right.
Right.
If his feelings are that fragile, go see a therapist.
Hold on. I'm not going to argue this.
Depot them in there. They got him. Tell them all night.
I'm going to go back to Senator John McCain.
Yeah.
When he showed me how he felt about Senator John McCain,
right.
I've never heard, I don't want to make this sound racial, I've never heard a white man talk disrespectfully about another white man's military service. I didn't even think that was allowed in this country. Because if your black ass had said, if President Obama had said, well, I don't care about John McCain's military history, his ass would have been deported back to Kenya or Ethiopia or somewhere in East Africa.
Kenya?
Kenya. Okay.
Because you know what's so funny? What's so funny about the Kenyan thing is that now the legitimacy of the birth certificate is unquestioned.
Yeah.
Now I bring in a birth certificate. There's no question, but the birth premise was so stupid from the outset. And having that argument with anybody, because I had to get kind of hoodish with some folks. I'm like, look, if Obama was born in Kenya, did he tell Michelle?
Mm.
And if he told Michelle, then Michelle tell her mama.
Mm-hmm.
And if Michelle's mama knows, what's up?
Yeah.
So, you know, I lost friends over this thing, where it was a conspiracy that this baby born in Kenya, like the Lion King, it was all set up for him to one day be the president of these United States. So is the birth certificate a legitimate piece of paper?
Well,
Or is it, you need a short form, you need a long form, what you need?
well, you know what? Listen, I won't even. I think that's silly. But my question, not to get off subject, is President Obama really related to the Bush family? Was
But they
just-
showed that he was.
Yeah,
Huh?
the Lewis Gates show.
Yeah,
Said
we showed that he was.
some kind of distant.
So when they
cousin.
came up with that conspiracy before Lewis Gates came out with it, because there was a big conspiracy in the conspiracy world many years ago that he was part of the Bush family and he had been selected to be president.
Yeah, see, that's nonsense.
That's kind of okay.
Um,
Okay,
That's a lot of doing.
I'll let it go.
I'm not saying that it's not possible. All I'm saying is it's a lot of doing.
I'm saying it's not possible.
Okay.
I'll let it-
Maybe not possible for five.
that one is possible. Yeah.
Listen,
Nah.
you keep asking. You know what? You keep asking about when is the ballot, the mail-in ballot.
Yes.
ballot. And
Yes.
I'm going to tell you the answer is it depends on the state that you're in. That's the
It does.
answer.
You're 100% correct.
The legal answer. Not
So
the subjective.
let's fix it on this panel. Let's give them a solution so they don't have to think about it. Are we all okay with a 7-day grace period? If you are CONUS, for your vote to be, I qualified it like that on purpose, right? That's that tieback.
Including the expats in the military.
Absolutely. If you're OCONUS, can we give them 2 weeks unless certain circumstances happen? Then there's an exception to policy to extend it out until the situation where the mail may have been caught up or frustrated becomes resolved.
You know what?
That's a fix.
Hold on. I wrote this down. This is where Lynn. You see, anytime you see me and Lynn agreeing, you in trouble.
Yeah, that's true.
Stop the
I wrote down me. Mail your ballot by election day, but you should mail it 7 days prior to election day. 7 days prior to election day, you should have mailed that ballot off. If you wait to the last minute, you're asking for trouble. And why do I say that? Here's the funny thing about this. When you file your taxes by April 15th, as long as that envelope, if you mail in your tax returns, is postmarked April 15th, you're good to go. So if you can pay your taxes on the last day, then you should be able to vote on the last day as long as that postmark is that day. And so, you know, you can't say,
So
well, you have to pay your taxes.
postmark's been taken away,
Huh?
So we're assuming that they're going to get them on time.
right?
All I'm saying, like, even with that, make sure y'all send a copy of your birth certificate in with your taxes. Not
Nope,
just
they don't
that,
ask for that.
but
Yeah, when you're paying them.
yeah, if
They don't ask
you got
for
to
that.
do it, if you got to do it for the Save Act, I don't see why you shouldn't have to do it for your taxes. If that's the case, if you are up for the draft, make sure because they're not asking for your birth certificate if they're going to draft you.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
You don't
That's
have
a
to bring
great
your birth
point.
certificate down there.
Wait a minute. Hold on. That's a great point. You should say
I'm
that
just
over
saying.
and over and over again. But
Yeah.
here's my thing about taxes. Wait a minute. Here's the thing about taxes. I don't want to know if you are a U.S. citizen when you send your tax return in. You know why? All I want to know is you filed your taxes, and if you owe me money, you pay it. And if you're here
But
illegally,
Richard, that's not even the scam. See, if I'm illegal and I'm working,
Yeah,
you can take taxes,
right.
and I can't get them taxes back.
That's true too. But if I made so much money and I was claiming 2 exemptions and I owe the federal government $2,000 when I send in my tax return postmark April 15th, 2026, I don't want to ask you if you're a U.S. citizen. All I want to know is your checking account and routing number correct? 2,000? Good enough.
Right?
Thanks, Miguel.
Right.
Thanks for all your hard service.
So last question for the panel. Last question, and then we'll move on to around the horn. Jay, I'll explain what around the horn is in a second.
Mhm.
Last question for the panel: is this whole debate being taken to the Supreme Court about mail-in ballots? Is this actually needed? Is it relevant? Is it something that should be re-examined? And if so, if you say yes, why? Wig, I'll start with you first. Actually, no, I won't. My bad. Jay, JR, you haven't had a chance to lead out with one.
So this whole fight with over mail-in ballots, is it worth it? I think, okay, so strictly based off of what we've seen, the history behind it, the level of fraudulent voting that comes from mail-in ballots, I don't think so, which I think was the original point that I had. Why are we doing this? So this is my opinion. I think we're doing it to keep more people from voting, or to question the results of votes of these elections, because as we've seen in previous very recent elections, there's been disputes, even though there's been adjudicated, even though it's been challenged, and those challenges have all been listened to, debated, and then rejected afterwards of their validity. I feel like we've already gone through all of this, and this is just another leg to try and make sure that fewer people have this opportunity. So I actually don't think so. And because of the conservative versus liberal slant on the courts, there's this expectation or hope, maybe even from this president, that things will turn out his way because of what he figures should be some loyal justices. They're going to rule in his favor. Because the times that they didn't, one of these very recent times that they didn't, on this tariff policy, he was incensed, pulled his hair out, couldn't stop posting about it, wondered why people like this, that he put in their positions, that he feels they should have some kind of a fealty to him. He was upset about it. So it's always this test. This is the last ring. He thinks you can beat me in these lower level courts. You can beat me on these every time that I appeal to it. But these guys at the very top court in the nation, they should be on my side. That's my opinion based off of the recent history, what I've seen him do. So I don't think there's much validity to the reasons why we need to go about this. But even if you do, if you adjudicate it to the degree of trying to figure out how we're going to actually fix what he says needs fixing, it still won't work out for him, because if you're looking for those answers, we're still going to have more people voting. He doesn't want that. I think there's ulterior motives here at play.
Got it. Lynn, I'll push that over to you.
I agree. I'm gonna stick with my word, discourage.
Okay.
Because sometimes that's all you need to do.
Yeah.
If somebody's on the fence and they get discouraged, they're not going to act. And that's really all you need to do to have your way. Because I agree, when less of us vote, they get their way. Because when it's inclement weather, or when it's really tough to get out there and vote, those people on the conservative side, they go out and they get it done. I've seen it. Where when I'm looking for my teammates, I don't see them showing up. I got a real thin bench, sometimes. This election that we just had, the primary, last month, earlier this month, where Jasmine Crockett had 1 million black votes in my county. And they didn't vote for her. 180 voted for her out of 1 million. Registered voters who looked like me. And then when she lost, they had all this stuff to say. But if you had just went out there and voted for the woman, then you wouldn't have anything to complain about. But this stuff right here is done in a way, and I told you my whole thing about leadership. We have a leader who... Anybody have daughters?
No.
Would you ever want your daughter to marry a man like the current POTUS?
No.
No way. Like I said last week and the week before, every Trumpster that I've asked, could he be your CEO at work? 100% of them said no. But you voted for this dude for the highest office in the land. Now make that make sense. So this is his way of trying to figure out how to win. And like I tell my wife all the time when she asks me, why men come up with these corny lines, to get at them. I said, because they work.
Yeah.
And she said, oh, they don't work. I said, see, you don't, let me define work for you. It only has to work one time. And it works. I'm in sales. Any sales pitch that you use that gets you to close, that's going in the vault. And why would you say that? Why would you do that? Because it works. We saw this man who was staring down the barrel of prison, real prison time, go into a strategy, delay, misdirect, delay, accuse, find out about an affair with the prosecutor and the special he did all that stuff. And what did he get? The highest office in the land. So for him, that works. But he's going to do that with Iran. He's going to do that with voting. He's going to do that with everything on his agenda. Epstein. Because it worked. That pickup line that I hit that woman up with at the bar worked. I got the number, I got the date, I got the second date, and you know what happens on the third date. So,
Third date?
Yeah, some of us gentlemen have a 3-date system.
A conversation for the next time.
That's a Thursday night conversation right there, man.
Let me tell you a quick story. So I got referred to this dude to handle his retirement stuff, right? So I used that dating analogy on him, and he laughed. He loved it. So when I came to his house for the third time, his wife was there, who I had never met. So this is what he says. He says, oh, man, this is our third date. You know what that means. And the wife overheard it and looked at us like, what the hell does that mean? And we just cracked up laughing. But I ended up, it worked. That close, that date, first, second, third date, it worked with him. But I hadn't met his wife. And when she was there, it kind of got hysterical. But my point is, this guy has his own strategies, has his own way. And I admire what he did in 24 because that was his only way out. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, that was the only way out, and he worked it to perfection. By the time he was guilty, right, of 34 and was about to be sentenced, but then the judge said, oh, you know what? It's too close. Yep. It's too close to election season. What if James Comey had said, these Hillary emails, it's too close to election season to go back in there again. The first time we went in there, we didn't find nothing. I know that's one of Comey's biggest regrets of his life, because he helped a man, and that man fired his ass the first opportunity he got.
As soon as he could.
And so when I talk about a lot of the conspiracies, I don't think that was Comey's decision, but I'll let it go.
All right. We'll come back to that one day. But Rich, questions on you now.
All right. So I'm going to take a look at what Emerald Turner 907, he, she, they, them, she.
That's a client of mine. Be nice.
Who?
Be nice. That's one of my clients. Be nice.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's my lady's mom. That's my lady's mom.
Turner 907. She states, we trust banks, cash apps, phones, images of checks, etc. with our monetary transactions. Why are voting machines not trusted? Isn't voting similar to a transaction? Emerald Turner 907. I agree with you. I agree. And I've been saying this for the longest. If I can talk to someone over in China and you tell me you can't create a voting machine, somebody's lying to me. And you should be able to vote online from East Africa and be done. And our vote should be able to be counted that day on election day.
Hackability is the problem with that.
Okay.
It is, I agree. But
so when people talk about
especially coming from Africa.
Well, or Europe. So wait a minute. So we can pay online and pay Amazon, don't get hacked. But when it comes to voting, it'll get hacked.
Actually, our information is sold daily through those transactions, but that's another story for another time.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna agree with Emerald Turner 907. But to get to the point, I'm glad this has got brought up. The Supreme Court is going to make some decisions. Of course, they got to get, President Trump a win because of the tariff situation.
Agreed.
And you know what I really wish? If I come across wrong, like I'm the old man screaming, if I didn't care, I always said that when I'm screaming and I'm going at you, I'm a black woman. That tells you I care about you. I love you. When I stop screaming, when I stop yelling and I get real quiet, you should be concerned if I'm, sleeping with your brother or your best friend. You should be concerned because I care about you. Maybe this will inspire people, not just black folks, but more Americans to vote. I'm hoping this will inspire. If I have the ability to create a fun short video and segments to inspire young people and get it on TikTok, which I don't even know if TikTok would even run it, because TikTok will put up anything. But when you start putting up educational stuff, I don't know, because now Americans own it.
No, they do me dirty when I put up educational stuff. They do me dirty on TikTok.
Okay, so I'm frustrated. Now I'm frustrated.
Yeah, you need
discouraged.
You need conspiracy theories on TikTok.
And discouraged. So, when you see me and Lena Green a whole lot on a particular issue, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. But I still hope that when the Supreme Court makes its decision, I hope the states can respond. And if a state is not working now to get ready for an anticipated response to all these different scenarios about having a photo ID, let me tell you something. In the state of California, because they want everybody to vote, they should have the Bureau of Vital Statistics. They should have those offices manned, and they should be ready to get swamped with inquiries so you can get those birth certificates sent out like that.
Yep.
Quickly with a raised seal, do whatever. Don't wait for the decision to be made and then say, well, how are we going to do this all in 30 days? You should have been planning for the last year regarding this situation. Because if you're not planning as a state government to ensure that the people in your state can vote, particularly minorities, you know what you sound like to me? You sound like Tyrone.
Oh shit!
I expect
nowhere.
I thought Caucasians were always prepared. That's what I was told my whole life.
Yeah.
I stopped there.
Rich is throwing shots out there.
I told you I'm fired up tonight.
What about you, man?
And black folks and white folks. I'm not going at Latinos or Asians. Nope. This is just between black and white tonight.
What was the question, Glass?
Hell, I forgot what the question was at this point. Listening to y'all, yeah, we done went about 7 different damn topics.
Ooh, Lord have mercy, Jesus.
It was a tangential
the
Q&A period right there.
Yeah, the relevance of us actually having to debate this. Is there a reason that we need to have this in the Supreme Court? Mail-in ballots.
Well, I didn't answer it. Okay.
No, I don't think there's a reason it should be in, at the Supreme Court. Listen, I think to say that is a solution looking for a problem.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think it is. It's a solution looking for a problem. At the end of the day, we're here because some guy got his feelings hurt because he feel like he was cheating. He don't complain about the states that he won. He don't care how they vote. I think Colorado votes all mail-in ballot, if I'm not mistaken. I think.
I'm trying to think.
But you do have states that have majority mail-in ballot.
I thought that was an East Coast state, but yes, you are correct. There is a state that's it's primarily mail-in ballot. Yeah.
Is Colorado?
I can't remember.
No, I think it's Colorado, but I know there's one state that is all mail-in ballot.
I'll look it up. Go ahead, keep talking.
Voting. Yeah. So if we're saying that, the hypocrisy of some of the people, not trying to get off track, but the hypocrisy of some of the people that vote for him, that support this guy, say, before this right here, it's my states' rights. Now you don't hear them saying states' rights anymore. There's no states' rights out there. They took it off like they took that red hat off.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So no, this is a solution looking for a problem, because this guy, as he said in his own words, if we lose the midterms, they're going to impeach me.
He's correct.
That's really.
He's correct.
So it's Colorado that's all mail-in, right?
Oh, so wait.
So now we don't have a.
Mr. Wig. So it looks
Yeah, go
like
ahead, bro.
California, Colorado, District of Columbia, Hawaii, Nevada, Oregon, Utah, Vermont, Washington.
Yeah, I'm looking at the same table.
States that conduct all elections by mail. Okay.
Wow.
So
So now we're not talking about the states having the right to do what they want to do, because he's basically telling the states what they have to do.
well, the Supreme Court will make a ruling, but like James said, will this cause Congress to get up off its tail and work together bipartisan and override the Supreme Court? I doubt it.
No.
Because
They have
remember,
no
I
choice,
didn't know.
but they don't have a choice though.
Well, remember,
Now,
I don't
I'm just
think
saying they don't have a choice because that's their job. The court can't
Well-
make is not making the law. They're supposed Congress passes law.
Yeah.
and look, most people
Supreme Court
and look
Justice
at Ketanji, Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. We always thought the Constitution gave all the power to the states, but Congress is allowed to amend those rules regarding the time, place, and manner that the states do their ballot count.
I'm gonna double check that, but yeah.
Well, that's what she's saying,
Yeah, and I don't really have any reason to not believe her.
and she didn't get checked that on Monday when she said that. If she had said that wrong, trust me, them other justices would have came in flying in on her.
Yeah. Go ahead, Wig, and then we got to push over
at the
to
end of-
around.
So yeah. So, but at the end of the day, again, this is a solution looking for a problem. That's all it is. And it goes down to what JR said. If you are going to pass something like this, what are you trying to do? You want more people to vote, or you want to make it harder for people to vote? That's really what it comes down to. All the other side knows, and that's not real quick, James. That's just one portion of it. Then the states are going to make some places. The polls are going to be. They're going to have less places to vote in and where they're at.
Yep.
So now, not only is the federal government making it harder for you to vote in some cases, now you got the states and the counties, and reducing places where you can vote.
Yep.
So this is a solution looking for a problem.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
All right. So now we are at Around the Horn, Jay. So on Around the Horn, we give a quick overview of the last thing we want to say. We want to leave the audience with, and we have to do it in 7 minutes or less for all 5 of us. So we'll start with you,
I don't
Jay.
need too long.
And it doesn't have to necessarily be anything that we talked about tonight. It's whatever you want to talk about. It could be, hey, you guys need to come and tap in on my show, and you need to like and subscribe on YouTube at JR Radio. So it's whatever you want to talk about. Got a quick-
It's you know what, this it can be completely unrelated. I enjoy these conversations. First of all, you guys, I'm glad we got a robust version of it. I think fewer people talk about things with honesty, integrity, and with true meaning for what it is that they believe and what they'd like to get out of it. I think it's missing in a lot of our dialogue, even with families. So we talk about people with the crazy uncle at Thanksgiving. It's because many times we're protecting or hiding something else that we want to get out of these conversations. So in coming in this, I don't tend to do a lot of these, and I wish I did more of it. The format of my show is me talking and running things and political videos and what people are doing and saying, and I love conversations. And honestly, it has invigorated me a little bit tonight because I found myself in a bit of a lull. When you're just there with your own thoughts and your opinions and your own belief systems and everything like that, you kind of find yourself wondering, yo, am I the crazy person for the things that I'm thinking? I'm glad and I'm appreciative to you guys for being around here and having these conversations. I would love to have these then turn into, first off, you, Lynn, me turning you into a true USC fan, number one, and us talking about how devastatingly bad that game was. And also maybe even talking about, as you said, the Thursday night conversations. This invigorates me. I love having these conversations because I think even ever since 2020, when we all got more isolated, it hasn't been as much of an interactive world, and I miss it a little bit. So thank you guys for this.
Yeah. So Thursday nights, I do have another segment on Thursday nights, and it's called the Legacy Table, where we actually do take those types of topics and conversations, and we talk about it. But I'll tell you later on about what the Legacy Table is about when we can talk a little bit more offline. Wiggins, Big Wig, we can put you up next, man. Give me a second. I might have froze up for a second.
No,
There
I'm
we
good. I'm here.
All right, there we are. All right, round of horn for you.
Hey, yeah, it's just gonna be real quick, man. That I pray for I got two granddaughters. I pray for my granddaughters. But this is not gonna be the same. It's really not gonna be the same. It's gonna take a long time. If we dig out of this hole, it's gonna take a long time to dig out of this hole. But I feel like this guy has lowered the bar so much that it's gonna be hard for a lot of people to climb out of. You know, somebody said something about AI earlier, and people are not gonna realize things until they ain't got no jobs no more. That's really what it come down to. When you don't have a job, these companies are making more money without having to pay any of the liability, pretty much. So I just pray for your kids and grandkids, because I don't know what this country's going at, man. Appreciate it.
For sure. Lynn,
You.
it's on you.
All right. So I have this conversation about AI all the time, and I think where people are going to lose jobs is where they're not as productive as they could be, and because I've heard about a few companies that have reduced their workforce and increased their stock price went up, and everything went up, and they're as productive, if not more productive, with less people in place. That's what I think is really vulnerable to art. And I'm going to start saying artificial intelligence, because artificial is a big part of that, phrase. And what I've seen AI lack is emotional intelligence. And when you don't have a lack of emotional intelligence, I don't see a clear path where it can totally take over and we end up in a Terminator movie. But I'm a half full kind of guy. I know that I feel like I'm in a space where AI can't do the job that I do, because I have to deal with people's emotions and their emotional intelligence. I have to help people not outlive their money. I have to get into a whole lot of different scenarios. But I just feel that with respect to what we've been talking about tonight, if I could sit any young person down, but especially a young person that looks like me, I would get them fired up to care about and understand that when they, exercise their right to vote, which countless people that look like us died to secure, when they really start to take that serious, I think we can do a lot of positive work together. Because and I'll end with this: when people talk about all the things, all the ingredients of the American dream, one party is fighting, in my opinion, one party is fighting for those things, and I feel like another party is fighting against those things. And I've always aligned myself with the party that is for those things. And unfortunately, I found that the execution by that party that is fighting for good stuff has a lot to be desired. And that's why we have these discussions. So when we all get together on the same page, and like JR was saying, figure out, how we can help these little tranches of people that can't get right. Things will get a lot better. And one last thing, JR, when my grandfather retired from being a Baptist preacher in LA, I marched into the ballroom with the USC band.
Oh.
So
There you go.
You're halfway there, brother.
no, that's only because we halfway. Man,
Vince Young, I was wishing nothing but success for his professional career, but that game made me really not want to see it. It hurt my heart. It hurt me.
Yeah, it was tough. It was
He
tough.
he was great that day. He was great.
And I'll tell you, when it was 6 minutes and 42 seconds left, I looked at my grandfather and I said, USC is going to lose. And they were up 12. And he wanted to drug test me right there in the stand. And he said, why are you saying that? I said, because now Mac Brown has to give that ball. He has to give the ball game to Vince Young. And he was unstoppable.
Mm-hmm.
And
he was. And there was history.
It was.
All right, Rich, it's on you.
All right. So
take your time. We passed 2 hours at this point. Now I ain't gonna be able to hit my auto generator. I gotta do it myself now.
Oh man. Listen,
2 hours.
I agree.
Yeah, I know it went fast.
Listen, I agree with everyone tonight. And my thing is no excuses when it comes to voting. No excuses. And I agree with Lynn. Don't be discouraged. I cannot say this enough about please vote, protect your jobs, which is in a sense protecting your self-esteem. If you're not voting, then you're allowing AI to replace you, regardless of your color. Lynn said something that caught my attention about he looked at, the glass half full, because that's a question they ask you in job interviews to judge your personality, to judge your attitude. I guess I'm a little crazy because I'm kind of like, well, was the glass full from the beginning or was it empty from the beginning?
Here you go.
No, hold on.
Answering questions with questions. Here you go.
Hold on. So here we go. So we could get through the night without.
No, I think you're agreeing with that too.
No, wait a minute. Again, when he made the point, I look at things as the glass half full. My view is, was the glass completely full or was it completely empty? How did we get here for you to ask me that question? And I think for African Americans, we came over here and the glass was empty. And you'll see where I'm going with this, Lynn. And this is why I get so perturbed about voting, because I was stuck on stupid for a lot of years until I started voting. Voting creates equality in a sense. Your vote doesn't outweigh my vote. And then voting also kind of gives some type of equity, even though we didn't start in the same place. But it helps to give some form of equity. And that's why I get so upset about us not voting. And I'm not telling people they have to vote Democrat or Republican, because I don't think neither one of those parties, because one party tells me they love me, but they're lying. The other party tells me they don't love me and they never will. Fair enough. Fair enough. So with that being said, I don't want the SAVE Act to discourage people. And I hope people are not waiting to try to get their birth certificate. If you don't have your birth certificate now, you need to write in and get it if you're concerned about them trying to hold your vote, particularly if you're African American and you're in one of the southern states. If you're not contacting to get your birth certificate, you should actually have two. Make sure it has a raised seal or it's certified. Because some black folks say that they will go stand in line. And if you go stand in line on election day and that line's too long, and they say, well, you've been standing in line, we close at 6, everybody in line should be able to vote. That's the way it should work. But you and I both know it won't work like that. Some of you say that we don't trust mail-in ballot, even though you can take the ballot to the post office, get a postmark on it. You still don't trust that. But you mail your bills in with a stamp on it because you don't trust online to pay. So at the end of the day, if you tell me about systemic racism and how it's dogged us from the time we got over here, you are factually correct. But at a certain point in time, when it comes to this voting, enough's enough. Now, they're going to gut the voting rights, 64 voting rights. Oh, God, is that right? No, 65 voting rights act. I think 65,
Right.
Section 2. They're going to gut that. Okay? They're going to gut it. Don't get upset. Get your birth certificate. Get your social security card. Try to get a passport. You say, well, I can't really afford no passport. Yes, you can.
Yeah, you can.
You can afford to buy weed at the weed store that's now legal, because when you were selling it when it was illegal, they threw your black ass in jail. But now it's legal. Every white.
Mm.
Let me stop. So, I have confidence in you, other African Americans, Black Americans, sisters and brothers. I have confidence, and I'm saying with a big smile on my face, that you can vote. And I don't care if you vote for the Democrats. I don't care if you vote Republican. I don't care if you vote for one of the other parties. Just exercise your right to vote to show that you are equal to your counterparts outside the community. Because if you don't do that, then you're showing that you're inferior. And I know we're not inferior. We never were. We are. Woo! I'll wrap it up by saying this. Don't expect the U.S. government to help you do anything. They didn't help you sell that weed. They didn't help you, produce those rap songs. They didn't show you how to say the N-word. They didn't show you how to sell half a kilo of cocaine. They didn't show you that. That you learned on your own. So you can learn this on your own too if you put your mind to it. See, this idea that we as Black folks, that we don't have the intellect, we don't have the emotional ability, I refuse to accept that, because I know who we are. And I don't care how much your pants sag and how much gold you stick in your mouth and how you feel about what you're up against. I still love you. I still believe in you. Can you please take time to vote? Please. Thank you for your time. I'm Richard Lewis Brown.
Give me 1 second. One of my daughters sent me a text message, because why not do it now, involving the cat? So she just wanted to make sure I'll turn something off so she's about to hit the bed. That's my big girl, my oldest 16-year-old, amazing kid. So I just want to throw something out there, and JR had started talking about this and going down this path earlier, but I want to introduce everybody. If you haven't heard of this gentleman, he was a Republican strategist. Actually, he's a strategist, conservative strategist during the rise of the religious right, 1981. Goes by the name of Paul Weyrich. And one of his strategies is something that I spoke about a while ago, a continuation of that Alexander Stevenson back in 1861 mentioned or alluded to in the Cornerstone speech. All of this is a continuation. All of this is a continuation to get America back to a certain type of principle for a certain type of person. One of the misconceptions is when they speak about American citizens, they're not talking about us. When they're talking about people of value, they're not thinking of us. They're not saying that with us in mind. And I want to remind people of a term that Dr. Cornel West said is being actually felt and seen a lot more now than what it has before. And that's a vast niggerization of people. But let me go back to Mr. Paul Weyrich, the religious right strategist, political strategist. And what he said was, and I said this once before, but it's a reminder. I don't want everybody to vote. As a matter of fact, our leverage in the election, quite candidly, goes up as the voting populace goes down. Elections have consequences, family. Gas prices. Elections have consequences, family. Service members that are dying in Iran. Elections have consequences, family. ICE running rampant. Elections have consequences, family. Kids not being able to afford college. Elections have consequences, family. $39 trillion deficit. Election has consequences. A request for an additional $200 billion to fund a quick peruse around the Middle East. Elections have consequences, family. There's still not been a wall built. Elections have consequences, family. SNAP was denied on purpose. Elections have consequences, family. We are dealing with healthcare increases dramatically. Elections have consequences, family. So when you are told that your vote doesn't matter, remember, elections have consequences, and they literally spend billions of dollars so you don't vote. It's propagandized so that you do not vote. I'm going to start a small series next week, and the only thing that I'm going to continuously say is to go vote. If you need to figure out what state you're in, well, if you need to figure out, regardless of the state that you're in, and you need to know the process to get your birth certificate, I will look it up. I will look up every 50 state to make sure you know the process. I will do that. I'm retired. I'll take the time because it's just that important. We've said it on this podcast once before. If you need a birth certificate and you don't have one, you need to send us an email. You need to reach out to us. FBLpodcast@gmail.com. I'm going to switch that soon. It's going to be a little bit more professional, but right now that's where we are. Let us know how we can assist and meet you where you are. You're a citizen of the United States of America. And if we claim to be the moral fiber of this world, we need to act on that because elections have consequences.
You do one, I'll do that.
Say again?
I'll match you. If someone contacts you, if two people contact you, I'll back up my mouth. You do one, and then I'll do the other one.
Deal.
And then that's fair. Yeah.
We can definitely do that. So that's all I have to say for my around the horn moment. I will get off my soapbox. And Jay, I appreciate you for staying and hanging in with us, man. And we're going to chop it up a little bit after in the background once we hop off. If you want to hang out with us for a little bit,
we'll see. We'll see. My wife says. I'm sure she.
Yeah. I know that.
Actually, there goes the text. I got it right.
I definitely get it, brother. But I absolutely appreciate you.
Hey, Jair, I have the fix. Put your wife's name beside your name.
Yeah.
Like you got it evens it all out.
Yeah.
It does. Have her come on because we'd love to hear what she has to say as well, man. Her voice matters also.
Absolutely.
Equally.
Okay.
My lady's been on. Stephanie has been on. So everybody is invited. It's done that way on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
It's done that way on purpose.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's to have cross-pollination, intersectionality. I want to hear from everybody. I want to see. I'm trying to find out what I don't know so that we can get there. I like finding my points of ignorance so I can fix that.
100%. I love that philosophy.
Yeah,
we
man.
need to be a little bit more humble about what we don't know so we can learn, and then you do know.
Hey, Jay, I think I came up with the answer for the voting fix.
What you got?
Retinal scan.
Oh my gosh.
Who?
Retinal scanning. You know how many Christians are about to you a Christian too. That's the mark of the beast. You can't have that.
I'm not doing that. Yeah.
You see,
You not gonna put your eyes up to the scanner.
No, I ain't doing all that.
Is that how you open that safe in your house?
Lynn, if you can put your eyes up on the scanner, then just put it in your forehead, put your whole financial information and health chart in your forehead, and just call it a day.
That's how. Yeah. I'm okay.
This is how great inventions are stopped in their tracks.
Right. The government already got me. I just finished 27 years, so I can't escape unless I just literally grow off grid. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Jay, again, thank you for hopping on as well. Panel, always great discussion. I appreciate y'all, and for everybody who is watching and will watch, thank you for spending some time with us. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but you decided to hang out with us, and again, we appreciate that. So with that being said, thank you all for coming out. God bless and good night.
Good night.